Are more lows coming in Solana? It kind of appears like that might be the case. We have had a nice bounce from a low of actually below 80. We've had a nice bounce over the last 3 days up to the top of this trend line here, which we've been in since December. And what do we look, what is the outlook ahead? Let's talk about that now. First of all, very clearly, you can see the downtrend we're in, a high, a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and so far lower low. We did have this little structure in there that kind of confused me for a minute, but it eventually ended back up into this downward channel where we stand now. Now, to be clear, Solana is not the only one in the downward channel. ADA, Ethereum, Doge, VET, Avalanche, DOT, Matic, I could keep going and show you every coin on this list is in a downward channel, and that is partly because of Bitcoin. Now, I do have some good news for you holders and fans of Solana. Let's do some comparisons. Back in October, you were at about 20, right? It went to a high of 127. That is over a 500% increase in about 2 months. Even after giving up these gains all through January, you're still 4 times plus. That's 400% more than you were back in October. Even after giving up these gains, Solana has been a beautifully performing coin. And even if we get into these levels, which we seem to be like we're going to, maybe even hit the bottom, maybe even go below, if we do that, and we'll talk about that in a second, you're still set up beautifully for a nice bounce upward and more progress toward the top over time. It's going to take time. I don't think you'll find us breaking the top in the next couple of months. I think this is going to take time to undo what we've done here. But how can it's hard to complain with Solana when you're still 400% up. Look at ADA. It doubled. It went up 2.5 times, but that's not 600 or 500%, 600% like Solana. It went up 2.5 times, and it's giving back and is already less than double of where it was in October. Same for VET, less than double of where it was in October. Doge, almost basically about 50% of where it was in October. Oh, Solana, how is that doing? Oh, 400% still after giving up these gains since December. So Solana holders, y'all are in a perfect place. Everything is looking good for you on the long term. Let's talk short term. Short term is we are still in this downward channel. We are breaking this resistance, or support, which we've already broken once, about the 88 level. And I do suppose eventually we're going to get to the 75 level. Why do I suppose that? Well, as strong as Solana has been, and it has been super strong, it is still influenced greatly by Bitcoin. And if you've been watching crypto lately, you realize that Bitcoin is under 40,000, has broken under 40,000 for the first time since back in November. And I don't see us getting above, we might get above 40,000, but as you can see from this bounce, it would look something like that. Okay, it would not be, I don't think we're going to end up in the 42, 43,000 range and stay there. There's just too much downward pressure from Bitcoin after these fantastic rise up that it has experienced since October and even further back in November of last year, where it was at a low of about 16,000. So even this is still healthy price action, even if we get down into this 34 to 38,000 range, which people are calling for, and I do believe will eventually enter. I believe, this is my guess, we'll hit 36,000 before we hit 46,000, and we probably are going to even hit 35,000 before we hit 45,000. Now that's my guess. We could get a strong bounce up, but I still think there's lower lows in our future just because we've had this fantastic run up from October, November, December. The run up was partly caused because we assumed the ETFs were going to be approved, the Bitcoin ETFs approved, and they were. And then since the day after, when we hit a top of 49,000, we have just fallen. And it's not like anything bad is going on in crypto. It's just there's nothing positive to look forward to right now, except perhaps the halving in April, and that's still three months away. So since there's nothing positive pushing us higher, we are regressing to the moving averages. We're reversing to the mean and that is kind of the average of price. And that's generally the way markets move. When you get extended one way too far down, as long as it's a good financial instrument, it's generally going to work its way back up. And if you get extended too high, it's going to eventually work way back down. Not the whole way. I'm not talking about us getting back down here to 27,000 lows. I'm saying maybe 34 to 38,000. That is my outlook for Bitcoin. How does that affect Solana? Well, it's not immune to the pressure of Bitcoin. Okay. Even though it is a fantastic project, if Bitcoin should get below 38,000, I think Solana is going to enter this range right around here, which that about 64 to 75, somewhere around there. I think that's probably the range we'll enter in, something like this. And it just seems to be like this downward pressure until it gives up is continuing to push these markets lower. Now, normally I would say this is a downtrend line. And what we want to see is for Solana to break above that trend line. And then once we do, that's a good indication that we could go higher. There's a couple problems with that. I would say that with something like VET, because look how far away it is from its trend line. I would say something like that for ADA, because look how far away it is from its trend line. But Solana has been so strong, it already bounced out of its trend line once and then fell back into this channel. I don't think any kind of bounce out of this trend line really is going to mean anything for Solana. I don't think it's going to make higher highs at this point. I'd be surprised if we even got above 103, this level right now. I'd be surprised if we got over that before we get lower. So the trend line here is more to give us a gauge of, yeah, it's pretty clear price is falling, and these two lines show us that pretty quickly. But I'm not going to put a lot of faith into it if we bounce out, because that would just be Solana, a strong coin bouncing out. It would be going against the current. It would be going up when all of the rest of crypto is going down. And it could happen, but Solana, as we've already talked about, has had a fantastic run up. It really also doesn't have any positive impetus to get higher. And so it's going to gradually go down a little bit further as long as we're experiencing this pressure. So we could bounce out of this. I wouldn't put a lot of faith into it. I'm not even going to look for Solana to go any higher until we break this level of 100 to 103. And I frankly just don't see that happening anytime soon. I think we're going to continue down. Why? Just because Bitcoin, I believe, will, and other coins will. And I think Solana is going to have those same sympathy moves as it is pushed down by the general crypto market. It's a strong coin, but it's not completely immune. It can be resistant, but it can't be completely immune to the ways and attitudes of crypto. So that's my outlook. I do think we'll eventually get down here around 75, and then we'll just have to see what the market is doing there. And it may not come. We might bounce out and range around here a little bit. Could even bounce up. But I will say kind of like this. I don't think we'll break 103 anytime soon. I think we're capped on the high ends for now on any bounces. I think they'll be temporary as we still experience downward pressure in crypto. All right, that's my outlook on Solana. If you're looking to pick up more, I think you'll have a good chance. You've already got a pretty good chance sitting at 87. If you liked it at 120 when it was making highs, you should love it at 87. It's doing nothing to give us any indication that it is going to crash. I don't see that at all. Hopefully, we're just rebasing and setting up for newer highs sometime here in 2024. All right. Y'all be careful out there. Check back in, and I'll keep you updated.